Hiya! The only drilling going on today is me. And this, and maybe one of these. So should we get our tridents out and find out what's going on today then? Hi, it's Xavier, and welcome to my bonsai retreat. And guess what? We're outside, the sun is shining, no sound of outdoor construction at all, give it time, and I'm going to be thread grafting. And I have actually done this once before, believe it or not. Yeah, way back in 2000, I tried to thread graft this trident, and I thought, for some reason, I don't know why, I thought I needed another branch going out here. And in fact, if you have a look on my website, I actually did an article about it with loads of pictures, and it looked like an absolutely fantastic effort, and it should have been a great success. I made one very, very naughty error. Do you want to know what that was? Yeah, it's ridiculous when you think what I did, but it's amazing if you don't actually think through your day sometimes, some of the real howlers you can do. And this had been, I did the thread graft actually in the early winter, late August, and when I came out this time, would have been, yeah, say 20, 21, no, probably 20. I had a look and it all looked wonderful, and I pulled the branch down like this, and I was looking at it and I was looking at all the buds, and for some stupid reason in my head I thought, I don't want energy going into those, so to stop the energy going in here, and I still to this day don't know what I was thinking, I did this and then left it. Well, anyone want to guess what happened? Yeah, absolutely no surprises. The branch had no buds on it, so there was nothing for it to grow on, and what I ended up doing is thread grafting a really nice dead stick. I never tried again, but the actual process and application was spot on. As I say, have a look back in my website and you'll see it in pictorial form. In fact, I may even do a update of that very, very soon. But do you want to know what we need to do this thread graft? Well, obviously the first thing you're going to need is a tree that is without a branch. It doesn't have a limb where you want it. Now, obviously, Trident Maple actually produce buds quite readily, so before you go thread grafting, it's worth waiting a year or two just to see if you can get some buds. I mean, here, got bud coming up here, buds down here, so you get buds quite readily on Trident, so thread grafting isn't necessarily the first option you go to. But with these, I've had them for 4 or 5 years just watching, and they haven't budded where I want them. So, I'm going to thread graft. So, this is one option, and the reason why I look at this one, and ignore the fact that the tree's in a shoddy state, it's got a branch here, which is ideally in the right position, but if you look at how it actually comes out from the tree, it comes out as a sort of, well, actually it looks like it comes out as a shoulder. Totally unnatural. Well, I say unnatural, it did it naturally, but not the way I'd want it. Now there's options. I could actually wire this a little bit around, but I'm never going to get rid of this very ugly shoulder type junction. Now as it also sits, now if I look at it from that as sort of from there, it also sits just at the point where that bend is sort of culminating. So what my thought is to actually put a second graft, another branch that comes out directly perpendicular to this, so it actually gives what I've already got there, but without that ugly point there. Now the secondary option I've got is again another one of these, and I say these were imports back in 2017, and you must know by now they all cost me around about £15 each, and I had a look online and you can't get anything for under 125, and that's looking as shoddy as those as well. This is my next option. I've got a lot of resolving to do at the top and the apical region, very, very ugly up here, but I can dig around and muck about with that. But we've got this obvious, again, at the outside of the bend, big wound there, which has been healing. I've checked, it's green, and there's part of me that says, why don't I put a branch out that way? And I think that's what I'm going to do. So, what do I need to do it? Okay, well, as you guessed from the intro, need one of these, drill, and wood drill as well, a nice sharp paring knife or something like that, where I can just scratch a bit of cambium off, wire, and that's obviously so that I can bend whichever of these I use into the place I want and support it. I need some putty, and that's just to seal around the wounds that we're going to make when this great 14-inch drill is going to whack through the trunk. And of course we're going to need the toothpicks, and that's clearly just so I look cool on the camera. Here's looking at you, kid.
Here's looking at you, kid.
Anyway, no, that's for jamming underneath the new whip that I throw in there, which you'll see. And then what we do need is to have some selections. Now, last year I didn't think ahead, which, bearing in mind the title of some of my favourite videos, is a bit counterintuitive really, but I should have, on that Trident, let one of the shoots grow out. So we recognise what I didn't do, but what I have got is Trident Maple cuttings, and all of these cuttings have come from those plants, so they should actually match them in skin tone and all sorts of stuff like that, or bark tone. But I've got 3 different options here, and again what I'm looking for is, ideally I'm looking for something like this one where the buds have yet to open up, and this is the other thing, you need to be early because you don't want those buds swelling at all, because you're going to be putting a hole to try and whack them through, and the deeper you can get it, the better the graft's going to be, so to speak. So for the sake of these are probably a bit too small for what I want. This one though, lovely, straight, got nice little length there, but this is the main part I want, and the buds aren't too bad. Now, the hole I want to drill, very, very important, because the hole wants to be as close to diameter, or the diameter of those buds and the branch when they go through. Otherwise, when you try and thread it through, quite naturally what you're going to do is rip the buds off, and you need those buds to promote new growth and make the whole lot swell. So make sure you take the time, have a look how far you're going to push that through, look at the drill bit width, and just compare it to there, and I think that's just a little bit too big. So I want to go for the next one down. I think it's going to be that one. I've had a look, and I've got live cambium all around here. I don't want to put it in the centre because the centre itself is going to be dead, so that way you struggle to get any sort of cambium growth in there. So it's either going at the bottom or at the top, and I'd rather go from the top side of it, so that's going to be pulling hopefully all those healthy, happy juices upwards, which will also help with the healing. But it also means if I have a branch there, it might be easier to hide the slight bulb or the scar that's on the tree. So it's going to come out like this, something like that. And I've picked the front somewhere around there because, I mean, they're horrible roots, and what I want to do is use this as a feature so you actually see it. And when I do dig it out and see what it's like under there, we'll see. And I'm not sure what's going to happen up here, but the main thing for this right now is getting that one in there. Now I've marked that place there, that's where I want it to come up, and I want it to come in a slight angle upwards, which if you think about it, when a bud opens up, it goes for the light, reach for the sky.
Reach those branches up to the sky.
Now before you actually get your drill going, one thing you need to know is the place that you want the branch to come out from, here, is where you want the least mess. Now anyone who's done some drilling will know that the exit wound is absolutely horrendous, like a bullet, absolutely explodes outwards, last thing we want. So our exit wound needs to be our entry wound, so to speak, for our drill.
Drilling.
If we look around here, that's going to be our exit wound. Very, very nice, small. I'll just clean up around there with a knife. That's where it's coming out. But if you look, if I'd gone the wrong way, have a look at the damage it does there. Punches out. Now that can be cleaned up later on in another year when it's taken, but that's the reason why. 2 different size exits. That's lovely and clean, which is just what we want for a good cambium connection. I'm just going to poke it with a bit of wire just to clear out all the roughage in there. I've put some wire onto this this cutting, and that's going to come into being later. And at some point I will find a way to keep these 2 pots together. But let's initially just thread this through now. So we've got to be careful not to kick those buds off. Again, we're just trying to take it as far as we can. The maples have got pretty thin bark, which is why we have to be careful when we wire them, because they scar so quickly and so easily. So I know I just watched a short that Yella of Growing Bonsai did, where he thread grafted his maple and didn't bother scratching the cambium, and he quite rightly came back to me and said, you know, so thin bark that you really don't need to bother. As this grows, it'll expand and the graft should take over a year or so. And you'll know if a graft's taken because you'll start seeing swelling at the sites, certainly here, to show that it's growing, and that's normally your first sign to know that you can separate. So I've got to the point now where I've jammed it as far as I can. I've got 2 buds fairly close in here, and again it's nice and close to the trunk, which means I'm going to get that initial bifurcation quite close in, which is what we want ideally. So what I've done is taken one of these and threaded it all the way through, and this is going to keep this tight to the top. Now I have actually cut just a little bit of the cambium, so without cutting the actual whip. And again, you need, this is the part that's important, you really need this to be a nice tight. Okay. Now what I need to do is I've got some putty, I need to seal that in. So what we don't want is any water or any yucky stuff getting in there. Making sure again I've got the buds in the direction I want them. Well, there it is. That's going to be the branch where it's coming out from. My aim is that the 2 buds close in there will set. If for whatever reason they don't, I've got these ones out here, that's quite a distance, so I've no reason to doubt that they won't. But I'm now going to let that grow, flush out. It's being supported by the roots here, so that should be fine. I'll keep it on this, I'll keep it somewhere a little bit sheltered. The wire there is just keeping this in place. I don't need to put any movement on that branch right now because the buds I want are so close in. But that in essence is the thread graft. We'll keep an eye on it, let it grow, and the nice thing about it is that the health of this whip is entirely dependent on this little pot here. All things being equal, in another year or so, next year, if I see lots of swelling either side to show that it's taken and the cambiums have combined and melded and moulded, then I'll separate here and I'll be using this as an interesting new tree. But there it is. Yep, very, very ugly tree. It's probably the best one that I had that I could do a demonstration on. But yeah, typical of the sort of cheap imports that we were getting in 2017, 2018, and it's appalling to think how much people are being asked to pay for this sort of quality now. Absolutely appalling. Which is why I've got so many Trident maple cuttings growing in my garden. And if you visit the nursery, come garden, then who knows, maybe you might be able to pick one up, or certainly some Chinese elms, that's for sure, or oaks. Anyway, it's one done. I've only got another 6 or 7 to go, but thankfully you won't see that. Obviously, I'm going to have a go. I think the advantage of having trees that are looking a bit ropey is that you can have a bit of a play and experiment, and I will probably pull that branch off and put a thread graft in its position straight through there, and I'll probably use one of these whips to do it. Although, no, not quite strong enough. You see, what I should have done is down here I had a whip coming out. What you ideally want to do is thread it round through like that. So I've got that one to look at. And then there's also this one. It's very tough. It's got a great big root here, which I'm going to remove this year. There's something missing here. But the ideal place to put it is on the inside of the bend, which obviously I don't want to do. But you see, I'm talking about how I said that they'll often bud from places you don't expect. And we've got a lovely little bud coming out here. So, you know, don't be in a hurry to thread graft your tridents, that's for sure. I was wondering about having something coming out there, but then this came along, so that may be the answer. So this is one of those things I'm not entirely sure. Thread grafts aren't 100% guaranteed, so yeah, if you're not sure, wait and see if you get yourself a nice little bud, just like I did there. What I will give you an example of is this is one where you've got a nice long whip here. If it wasn't the fact that it had so many branches, I could just bend that whip round, put a bit of wire on it, like that, and then thread it throughout the back. And obviously you wire this up first, poke it through, and then wire around there to hold in position. That's the other way, without using whips. So I've got to work out getting this out of this soil as well. Loads of growth on these, but we'll be seeing those in a later episode. So if you love Trident Maple work, probably won't have to wait much longer before I start getting in onto these, and I've got about 15 of them. Anyway, from Xavier, his first outdoor video about trees and about bonsai and doing bonsai. Hope you liked it. If you liked it, you know the rules. Big like, algorithm loves it. If you think someone else may get something from this, subscribe. And if you want to see in better detail what I did, then definitely on the website there's some really close-up pictures of a thread graft going on. Apart from that, happy bonsai and God bless. Cheers.